listening to the Holy Bible 1-Year Challenge with Master Storyteller Michael Wood, featuring the easy-to-read version and used by permission from Bible League International. Enjoy the show!
Hello, everyone. Welcome to day 353. We're continuing in the book of Ezra, and there are a bunch of people who don't want the Jews to be rebuilding the temple. Remember, they have returned from captivity from Babylon. And so these people against them begin to write a letter. And so what you're going to hear in chapters 4 and 5 of Ezra is this back and forth correspondence between the king of Persia and the people who want the Jews to stop building this temple. But I think the interesting thing about this is the Jews know that this letter is going to take time to get from one point to the other. Then someone has to write and compose a letter and send it back. And so they just keep building the temple during this slow mode of communication. So you could say they were pretty smart, knowing that the king did not have email. And we're also continuing in the book of Revelation. And in chapter 11, we hear about the two witnesses. And this is where things get interesting because there is much debate and interpretation of who these two witnesses are. The literal story is that these two witnesses are described as two olive trees and two lampstands that stand before the Lord. They're able to devour their enemies with fire that comes out of their mouths. And they have power over the sky and waters. They could strike them with a plague. They could turn water into blood, for example. And after they testify, this beast comes and kills them. And for 3.5 days, people celebrate the death of them, and they won't bury them. And then after that time, God actually resurrects them, which strikes fear into their enemies. And then they ascend into heaven. And then an earthquake comes and kills 7,000 men, and that destroys 1/10 of the city. Now, who are these witnesses? We don't know for sure. Some people think these witnesses were in the Bible already, Elijah and Enoch. Some think the witnesses represent just concepts of the church, or when Jesus sent people out 2 by 2, it's just simply showing a witness of testimony. While others go so far as to say that they are Uriah Smith and Ellen G. White, according to the Seventh-day Adventists. And the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints say that they are Joseph Smith and Hiram Smith. And some say that they were killed during the French Revolution. So again, there is much debate on who they are. And they've even been popularized in shows like Sleeping Hollow or the Left Behind franchise. If you enjoy the show, visit me at patreon.com/storymaster. You'll find the link in the description box below. By contributing as little as $1 per month, you will enable me to continue this ministry, and you'll get cool rewards too. Together, we're going to get through the Bible in 1 year. Let's get started. Ezra chapter 4, verses 6 to 24. The year Xerxes became the king of Persia, these enemies of Judah sent him a letter containing their complaints against the people of Judah and Jerusalem. Enemies against rebuilding Jerusalem. Later, when Artaxerxes became the new king of Persia, some of these men wrote another letter complaining about the Jews. The men who wrote the letter were Bishlam, Mithridath, Tabeel, and the people with them. The letter was written in Aramaic and then translated. Then Rahum, the commanding officer, and Shimshai, secretary, wrote a letter against the people of Jerusalem. They wrote the letter to Artaxerxes, the king. This is what they wrote.
From Rahum, the commanding officer, and Shimshai, the secretary, and from the judges and important officials over the men from Tripolis, Persia, Erech, and Babylon, and from the Elamites from Susa, and from the other people who the great and powerful Ashburnipal moved to the city of Samaria, and other places in the country west of the Euphrates River.
This is the copy of the letter sent to King Artaxerxes.
From your servants living in the area west of the Euphrates River. King Artaxerxes, we wish to inform you that the Jews you sent from there are now in Jerusalem. They're trying to rebuild that terrible city. The people there have always refused to obey other kings. Now, they have almost finished repairing the foundations and building the walls. Also, King Artaxerxes, you should know that if Jerusalem and its walls are rebuilt, the people of Jerusalem will stop paying their taxes. They will stop sending money to honor you. They also will stop paying customs fees, and the king will lose all that money. We have a responsibility to the king. We don't want to see this happen, so we're sending this letter to inform the king. King Artaxerxes, we suggest that you search the writings of the kings who ruled before you. You will find in the writings that Jerusalem is a city that is difficult to rule. It has always refused to obey other kings and nations who tried to control it. It has a long history as a place where trouble begins. That is why it was destroyed. King Artaxerxes, we wish to inform you that if this city and its walls are rebuilt, you will lose control of the area west of the Euphrates River.
Then King Artaxerxes sent this answer.
To Rehum, the commanding officer, Shimshai, the secretary, and all the other leaders with them living in Samaria and other places west of the Euphrates River. Greetings. The letter you sent us has been translated and read to me. I gave an order for the writings of the kings before me to be searched. We found that Jerusalem has a long history of refusing to obey their kings. It has been a place where this kind of refusal and revolt has happened often. Jerusalem has had powerful kings ruling over it and over all the area west of the Euphrates River. Their kings received taxes, customs, and fees. Now, order the people to stop the work of rebuilding the city. I do not want them to rebuild Jerusalem until I myself give the order. Make sure you stop the work right away. The longer the work continues, the more loss it will cause for my kingdom.
So the letter that King Artaxerxes sent was read to Rehum, Shimshai the secretary, and the people with them. It went very quickly to the Jews in Jerusalem and forced them to stop building. So the work stopped on God's temple in Jerusalem. The work did not continue until the second year that Darius was king of Persia. Ezra chapter 5. At that time, the prophets Haggai and Zechariah, son of Iddo, began to prophesy in the name of God. They encouraged the Jews in Judah and Jerusalem. So Zerubbabel, son of Shealtiel, and Jeshua, son of Jozadak, started working again on the temple in Jerusalem. All of God's prophets were with them and were supporting the work. At that time, Tattenai was the governor of the area west of the Euphrates River. Tattenai, Shethar-Bozenai, and the men with them went to Zerubbabel and the people with him and asked,
Who gave you permission to rebuild this temple and repair it like new?
They also asked,
What are the names of the men who are working on this building?
God was watching over the Jewish leaders. The builders didn't have to stop working until a report could be sent to King Darius. They continued working until the king sent his answer back. Tattenai, the governor of the area west of the Euphrates River, Shethar-Bozenai, and the important people with them sent a letter to King Darius. This is what it said.
To King Darius, greetings. King Darius, you should know that we went to the territory of Judah. We went to the temple of the great God. The people in Judah are building that temple with large stones. They are putting big wooden timbers on the walls. The work is being done with much care, and the people of Judah are working very hard. They are building very fast. It will soon be done. We asked their leaders some questions about the work they are doing. Well, we asked them, Who gave you permission to rebuild this temple and repair it like new? We also asked for their names. We wanted to write down the names of their leaders so that you would know who they are. This is the answer they gave us.
We are the servants of the God of heaven and earth. We are rebuilding the temple that a great king of Israel built and finished many years ago. For our ancestors made the God of heaven angry. So God put them under the control of King Nebuchadnezzar, the Chaldean who ruled Babylon. Nebuchadnezzar destroyed this temple and took the people to Babylon as captives. But in the first year that Cyrus was king of Babylon, King Cyrus gave a special order for God's temple to be rebuilt. And King Cyrus returned the gold and silver things that Nebuchadnezzar had taken from God's temple in Jerusalem and had brought to Babylon. King Cyrus took these things from the temple at Babylon where they were stored. Then he sent them to Jerusalem with Sheshbazzar, the man who chose to be governor of Judah. Then Cyrus said to Sheshbazzar,
Take these gold and silver things and put them back in the temple in Jerusalem. Rebuild God's temple in the same place it was in the past.
So Sheshbazzar came and built the foundations of God's temple in Jerusalem. From that day until now, the work has continued, but it is not yet finished. Now, if it pleases the king, please search the official records of the king. See if it is true that King Cyrus gave an order to rebuild God's temple in Jerusalem. And then, sir, please send us a letter to let us know what you have decided to do. Revelation chapter 11. The two witnesses. Then I was given a measuring rod, as long as a walking stick. I was told, Go and measure the temple of God and the altar, and count the people worshiping there. But don't measure the courtyard outside the temple. Leave it alone. It has been given to foreigners who will show their power over the holy city for 42 months. And I will give power to my two witnesses, and they will prophesy for 1,260 days. They will be dressed in rags. These two witnesses are the two olive trees and the two lampstands that stand before the Lord of the earth. If anyone tries to hurt the witnesses, fire comes from the mouths of the witnesses and kills their enemies. Then this is how anyone who tries to hurt them must be killed. These witnesses have the power to stop the sky from raining during the time they are prophesying. These witnesses have power to make the water become blood. They have power to send every kind of plague to the earth. They can do this as many times as they want. When the two witnesses have finished telling their message, the beast will fight against them. This is the beast that comes up from the bottomless pit. It will defeat and kill them. The bodies of the two witnesses will lie in the street of the great city. This city could be called Sodom or Egypt because it is so much like those evil places. This is the city where the Lord was killed. People from every race of people, tribe, language, and nation will look at the bodies of the two witnesses for 3.5 days. The people will refuse to bury them. Everyone on the earth will be happy because these two are dead. They will have parties and send each other gifts. They will do this because these two prophets brought so much suffering to the people living on earth. But after 3.5 days, God let life enter the two witnesses again. They stood on their feet. All those who saw them were filled with fear. Then the two witnesses heard a loud voice from heaven say,
Come up here.
And both of them went up into heaven in a cloud. Their enemies watched them go. At that same time, there was a great earthquake. 1/10 of the city was destroyed, and 7,000 people were killed in the earthquake. Those who did not die were very afraid. They gave glory to the God of heaven. The second terror is now past. The third terror is coming soon. The the seventh trumpet blast. The seventh angel blew his trumpet. Then there were loud voices in heaven. The voices said, "The kingdom of the world has now become the kingdom of our Lord and of his Messiah, and he will rule forever and ever." Then the 24 elders bowed down on their faces and worshiped God. These are the elders who sit on their thrones before God. The elders said, "We give thanks to you, Lord God all-powerful. You are the one who is and who always was. We thank you because you have used your great power and have begun to rule. The people of the world were angry, but now is the time for your anger. Now is the time for the dead to be judged. It is time to reward your servants, the prophets, and to reward your holy people, the people great and small who respect you. It is time to destroy those people who destroy the earth." Then God's temple in heaven was opened. The box of the agreement could be seen in his temple. Then there were flashes of lightning, noises, thunder, an earthquake, and a great hailstorm. Psalm 145, verses 1 through 7, a psalm of praise by David. I will tell of your greatness, my God and King. I will praise your name forever and ever. I will praise you every day. I will praise your name forever and ever. The Lord is great and deserves all our praise. No one can fully understand his greatness. Each generation will praise you and tell the next generation about the great things you do. Your majesty and glory are wonderful. I will tell about your miracles. People will tell about the amazing things you do, and I will tell everyone how great you are. They will talk about your wonderful goodness and sing about your justice. Thank you, everyone. That was day 353. Join us for day 354. We're continuing in the book of Ezra. King Darius of Persia got the memo. He got the letters that perhaps this whole building, the Jewish temple, could be a big scam. And maybe the Jews are pulling the wool over his eyes. So he orders a search of the archives in Babylon. You'll have to join us to find out the results of that search. But I'll give you a little hint. Darius, after the search, puts out an edict. Anyone disobeys this new edict, they will be impaled on their own roof beam. Those are some strong feelings from King Darius about what he finds in the archives of Media regarding the Jews. We will continue in the book of Revelation. John sees a dangerous omen. What is it, you ask? Well, you probably guessed it. It's a woman. She seems to be screaming. Maybe it's because both the woman and John see a huge red dragon with 7 heads with crowns on each head and 10 horns. Is this dragon a friend or a foe? And it's at that moment that a war breaks out in all of paradise. We hope you enjoyed today's verses. Be sure to leave us a positive review and to share this podcast with your friends and family. Please join us for the next episode as we experience the Bible in 1 year.
Did you know we offer online courses in creative writing, literature, and web design? Visit us at storymaster.online to learn more.